So I came across this video on YouTube called Evolution versus God. And it had to do with a guy named Ray something or other. To be honest, I ultimately feel the last name is irrelevant. But basically it kind of is the concept of disproving evolution by that of using information about God. And the first 15-20 minutes of this video is nothing but a gentleman who can only assume is the Ray guy, asking people questions about Darwinism, evolution, what they think about it, whether they believe it or not. And when it comes down to it, I didn't care for it, alright? Mostly because the Ray was just simply asking them the same question. He was just asking it in a completely different way. And I'm surprised that none of these people actually brought this up as, you already asked me this question. You're just asking it in a different way now. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's not really a massive, diverse group of people. I would say, I didn't really count them, but I would say at least anywhere maybe 12 or less of the same people being asked, different iterations of the same question or a slightly modified version of the same question. And then the last 10 to 15 minutes of this video is the flip side to this, asking them what they think about God, the Bible, whether they believe, whether they don't believe. God can save them, can help them, can make them happy, etc., 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 etc. And the biggest issue that I have, as irony would have it, is not necessarily the video within itself. I did, on a personal level, didn't find it very informative. It was the same saturated excuses given by what they call creationists, all right, which is not really a term that I alliterate in enjoying to use, but people have been grouping people because of differences for centuries, so it's just going to continue. But ultimately, I eventually came across this article that apparently is supposedly written by the same gentleman, who was talking about this female YouTuber. Her name is JACLYN. Hopefully I pronounced her first name correctly. This is going to be a video response to her latest video talking about this subject. And I watched both of her videos, and then I went and I read the article, I read the comments, I even went over to the Facebook page of this Evolution versus God, and I read some of the posts that are there, some of the replies or comments to these images, posts from this particular place. And I couldn't help but just shake my head, alright? Here's some advice for you, Ray. Here's my advice to you, alright? The idea of getting someone to join or to believe in something that you believe in stems from the idea and the concept that you cannot and should not insult that person or group of people if you truly want them to believe in what you believe in. Alright? It is never going to work. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons why people, regardless of what the topic may be, always butt heads when it comes to certain subjects: Democrat, Republican, atheist, creationist, etc., etc. And that is the main reason why, is because you have individuals or a group of individuals within that quote-unquote group that cannot really think rationally, common sense, and think with an open mind. Which brings me to something that I actually saw in Ray's video. He actually asks the question to one of the gentlemen if they if it's possible that God could exist. The guy replies back, yes, it's possible that God could exist. He then counters that question to Ray and says, well, do you think God cannot exist? How does Ray respond? He says, no, I do not believe that basically God cannot exist. And then he tries to basically kind of justify his answer by saying, do you love your wife? Do you believe in your wife? Something of that nature. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, that makes absolutely no sense. That has to be the dumbest analogy or example I have ever heard. Because you want to know something? A person can prove that they love someone. A person can prove that I I am the son of this person. I am the daughter of this person. All right? We have this ability. We have this capability. All right? Especially in this modern generation. So I ultimately felt that his excuse, because that's what it wasn't rational thinking. It was an excuse on his part to try and debunk the idea that God cannot exist. As if to say that, oh, if I say, yes, it's possible that God could not exist, that somehow he's going to have to burn in the fiery pits of damnation. Which, this is one of the biggest reasons why I don't really care for religion within itself, is because you have a lot of people that just don't think outside the box within their own religion, all right? You have a lot of people that demoralize other people that follow a religion, all right? They put people down, etc., 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 etc. And if you're supposed to be, trying to get into some heavenly area, then it does not make sense that even the small things you will eventually have to atone for, all right? And I don't really think that any God, if they do exist, would actually want their followers to belittle people, because it just doesn't make sense if you want to get more people to follow your religion. You don't want to belittle them, insult them, or anything of that nature. It makes absolutely no sense. And Ray, in this particular article, interview type scenario, actually indirectly and directly insults JACLYN a few times. And to me, it's just like, that makes absolutely no sense, Ray. You cannot talk the talk if you're not going to walk the walk. It just doesn't make any sense in any fathomness of religion within itself, or just respect in general, all right? No different than Martin Luther King himself. Do you really think he would have got so much of the white community to agree with him if he just belittled and insulted the white community? He wouldn't have gotten very far, all right? And this is one reason why I think that many groups, atheists, creationists, agnostics, etc., that always end up butting heads, all right, is because they're not completely thinking with a clear conscience. And this comes to that greater point that, you can believe in God, but you can also alliterate to the idea that, yes, it's possible that God doesn't exist. Because if your God does exist, like any God out there in most of these particular religious stories, is that God is a understanding God. He is a justful God. He's a righteous God. So this means that if you did die and you were standing before your Creator, and He basically brought this up, in a YouTube video, you were interviewing someone and they asked you if it was possible that I do not exist, and you responded yes. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go to hell for that. If your God is as understanding as the Bible or any religious manuscript states, then I don't really think that would play out that way, all right? I think God would be more understanding if He did exist to be, change the scenario on the complete opposite end, to be like, all right, so this is what you said. That's understandable. It's not even a minor discretion. There's the gates of heaven. All right, enjoy your afterlife. All right, so this is one of the reasons why I like to think with a very open mind. All right, is that it's all right for you to believe in God. It's all right to even alliterate to the idea that be open-minded that God may not exist, because if He does exist, He sure as hell isn't gonna damn you for all eternity in the fiery pits of whatever hell or location that you believe in, just because you had a simple statement, thought, or opinion. You want it to be open-minded, you want it to be rational, that type of thing. All right? Overall, I found Ray, throughout this article that I read, link in the description box below, arrogant, ignorant, and that if his God does exist, he's going to have to be answering for a lot more than he actually thinks he would have to answer for. Because again, at the end of the day, the biggest issue that I have when it comes to religion within itself is people not doing what they preach. And Ray is a good example of that type of person, all right? Again, you can be open-minded to any concept or idea, all right? Let me give you a bit of an idea, all right? I had two friends, atheist, one who is a Catholic, all right, arguing the factorization of who created Earth, all right? The most useless arguments in the world, who created Earth? 6 days, it was God. 7th day, He rested. No, it was 6 billion years, 4 billion years, yada, yada, yada. So I came in there, I was like, you know what, let's just kind of be a little more open-minded to shut both of you guys up for a second here. Let's say we know that time is different in different locations on Earth. So let's say that if God does exist, time is different wherever He exists. All right, so 6 days is the equivalent of 6 billion years. There we go. All right, whether you like that explanation or not, you can now shut up, because I'm kind of tired of sitting here listening to you two bicker and arguing like little children. All right, there is a fine line between voicing your opinion and respecting the opinion of others. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons, and Ray is a good example, of the type of person that is not just not open-minded, very close-minded, and ultimately believes that his way, yeah, that's right, his way, not God's way, his way is the correct and only justified way. All right? I hope you enjoyed this video in some fashion or form, and I will see you next time on Rogue Skeptic.